Welcome to the Clean Power Hour Live. Today is May the 2nd, 2025, bringing you the latest in solar, wind, and battery storage news with my co host, John Weaver. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Tim. I hope you're having a good day. I like your picture in the background. That's a cool solar project. I want to have a cool solar project like that one of these days.
That's
Uh,
Parkland College, just
Parkland College.
nary a mile and a half from my house. I bid that project but did not get to build it, but it's a lovely project. And my drone ate it up a couple years ago on a lovely, I think it was a fall day, but it was one of the first large behind the meter projects in Illinois. This was like 2018.
Is that two
You know,
megawatts
yeah,
AC?
2 megawatts, 2 megawatts AC. It's a PPA, so it didn't cost the college anything. They save 10% on their energy. It's a good thing.
Cool.
Um,
Nice project.
but it is. So, I hear you're going to Iceland.
Yes. So this week tomorrow, I will be flying to Europe. I was planning on flying and I didn't realize something was going on. I didn't know this was Intersolar Week, Tim, next week. So I was planning on flying to PV Magazine's 10th anniversary event, which is on Tuesday, because they invited me in Munich on a little island that they're having a little party. And then on
Cool.
the way back, I was going to stop in Iceland and do something cool. Instead, I just realized, because you told me, Tim, that the second half of the trip is actually Intersolar Europe. So now I'm going to try and go to the airport a little early and see if instead of tonight switching and going to Europe, I just stop and stay in Iceland today. So, so there
Wow.
we go. I think you just changed my vacation for the positive, and I owe you beer, Timothy. And I think that means I'll be at Inner Solar next week, which would be sweet.
Well, it kind of explains why PV Magazine is doing their shindig
Yes, yes, of
at this
course,
time,
yes,
also, right?
absolutely. I assumed that Inner Solar was in the summer months, June-ish, but they also have that big festival, the biggest one, the world's biggest show that's in Shanghai, I believe, Beijing. It's the
Yeah.
SNEEC prop show, so maybe they moved it. All right, so yeah, so I'll be at Inner Solar next week. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate that. Well,
That's so funny,
yes, yes, yes. Good
but it's
work.
good to
Good
be able
work.
to be flexible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
All right, so you got a new giant project, 800 megawatts. I think it's the largest east of the Mississippi or eastern US is what I
that
saw from some headlines.
claim is a good claim, but I don't
Uh-huh.
think it's accurate because, but anyway, this
It
is
was big.
what you see on screen is a
Yeah.
solar farm just east of Springfield, Illinois, 30 miles east of Springfield, called Double Black Diamond. It's an 800 megawatt solar project. It's a very unique project, John, because it's
Mm-hmm.
built in Ameren territory, okay, in central Illinois, but the
Mm-hmm.
power is being purchased by the city of Chicago and several other off takers, but the city is buying a large percent of the power to power their municipal facilities. So now the city, I think, can claim that, and this includes the airports, Midway Airport and O'Hare Airport, are now solar powered with this. I call it a sleeve through PPA. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but
What's that mean?
the project is in Ameren, but the off takers are in ComEd. And so
Oh,
this is a great example of what utilities can do when they cooperate with solar developers and municipalities like the city of Chicago. Um,
is this this is a pure transmission project, right?
no, this is I
Because
mean,
yeah, so
it's a solar project, but the it's a front of the meter solar project, right? So the
yeah.
power is just going on the grid and getting used wherever it's getting used, but it's being metered and then through virtual PPAs, they're selling the
Yeah.
power to the city of Chicago.
So if this is a transmission level project and they're connecting it to the wholesale market, they can sign wholesale agreements and wheel the electricity through various regions pretty easily. um, it's probably not being managed by Ameren at all. In fact, it's probably just going straight. Is that PP
Well,
or
it's
PJM?
unique. Think about it though, because Ameren is in MISO and ComEd is in PJM.
Oh, well, see, that's more interesting. Yes, okay. So
So
it's crossing over that. So
it's
that's pretty cool.
two different RTOs or ISOs.
Yeah, because
Um, hey,
Ameren probably
Preston,
isn't.
good to see you.
A- Ameren's probably not messing with it though, because they're a distribution level. They don't really they buy and manage from wholesale, but they don't really deal with the wholesale. It's the same as now. ComEd might help the company purchase theirs through the wholesale market, but I get it. Crossing over the ISO territories, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So 800 megawatts, that's a big project. Do you know any groups that participated in the construction of this? Because you're pretty close to this site. Few
Yeah, it's
hours.
it's about 2 hours from my house. I have not gotten to visit the site yet.
Hmm.
Swift Current Energy is the developer. I think McCarthy was the EPC. Um, and these press releases claim that it's the largest project east of the Mississippi, but they forget about Mammoth Solar in Indiana, which is a 1.2 gigawatt solar farm, which I think may be still under construction.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna
Uh,
have to go with that. It's not complete yet.
Okay, so maybe that's how they make that claim, but it's going to be nipping at their heels and eclipsing them here pretty quickly. But anyway, it's nothing to sneeze at. It's not every day you get an
No.
800 megawatt DC solar farm um, in your backyard, and they're using First solar panels, so domestic
Mhm.
solar panels. Um, I believe it's Next Tracker racking. And yeah, it's a good thing. I love it that the city of Chicago is buying so much clean energy, and I mean this solar farm could power something like 40,000 homes. I think it's a lot of juice.
Yep,
So good story.
we like it. So I'm sure you're paying attention to what happened in Spain, at least to some
I
degree.
I am, and I'm so confused.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody listening to this knows there was a major outage this week in power outage in Spain and France. Um, but nobody seems to know what happened,
So
right?
technically, I still don't know why. The only thing I've been hearing about is that there were voltage variations going back 3 hours, back to 9 a.m., plus or minus a really big number. And it's been said for a while that the HVDC, the high voltage connection that's coming across from France, might have had something to do with this. The fact that they only had one, and they've been getting a lot of attention about this. And
This is
then,
bringing up the wrong story, though,
nope,
somehow.
nope, this is the right story. This is the
Oh, it
right
is.
story.
Okay.
Yes. So this event started early in the morning. Then, in the middle of the day, something bigger happened, and there were two events. There were two grid collapse events. The first grid collapse was really small, lasted a millisecond, but a couple of power plants fell off the power grid, and it was probably because of this voltage harmonics thing. Someone else said a power line might have gotten too hot, and that can happen. And this triggered a couple of power plants to drop, and that messed up the grid voltage a whole bunch. Then, and this is the key that matters, and that's why this um, article matters.
This is a
Then,
legacy story about Texas, right?
yes, sir.
2021.
Yes, this is the Odessa disturbance.
Uh huh.
Then 13 gigawatts of solar capacity dropped out. And we might know why. And that's, in my opinion, even though I'm the solar evangelist, that's actually the biggest piece of thing to deal with in this piece of news, at least for us, because the solar hypothetically should have been able to what's called ride through the disturbance.
Hmm.
However, apparently back in the day, and this is now starting to get above my head, but if you read this article and go to the sources of the NERC report that's associated with this, you can get really nerdy, Tim, like totally, like words that I don't even know exist. Um, yes, so there's the timers. Instead of riding through the event that lasts milliseconds, that's getting repaired by big spinning thermals, a lot of solar inverters from back in the day, I guess to protect themselves, would shut off and say, okay,
Mhm.
when the grid comes back up in 5 minutes, we'll be good. And in Odessa, that's what happened. Most inverters, like I believe a gas power plant, switched off. And if you scroll up, you can see where the gas power plant switched off in the image, that red dot right in the middle. Then
Yeah.
all those plants around had a reaction, and they all flickered. The red ones shut down, and they didn't come back up. I believe in
Mhm.
Spain, which has an older fleet than Texas, a larger percentage fell down. And in fact, 50% of the grid's generating capacity disappeared. And I think that led to a cumulative effect. And at the end of it, I think that leads to like 0% of the Spanish grid being up. And not because of solar, however, a nuance of solar may have extended it and made it worse. And one of the solutions is batteries. That's you gotta flicker. And so that Odessa article is about it. Um, we think the Tesla battery in 2017 may have stopped Australia from having an event like this, and so because it reacts to these grid fluctuations, these ancillary
So is
services.
this is the latest theory on the Spanish outage?
This is not necessarily. It may be the latest. Yeah, it may be. It's what I got. How's that? I don't know what the latest is. I'm pretty cool, Tim, but I don't always know what's going on. Uh,
I
yeah.
think it's the Russians myself, but I don't
Okay.
know. Um,
Hey, you know what? You know what? I'll put it this way. All I know is I don't know where the oscillation started, but I know I painted a picture of what happened afterwards, and
yeah.
I think the solar has some quality checking to do. It's my opinion, and a little piece of nuance that's being latched onto, and we got to manage it. And this is the key reason you gotta good. This is the key reason we got to stay on top of this and really know what happened. Is that a lot of folks are now latching on to renewables being the cause of this, and it's not. It's other stuff on the grid. But batteries that have the ability to do grid forming, they fix the issue. General batteries can fix the issue.
Hmm.
And there's something else I wanted to say on this one, but we'll get there. It's a big thing. The grid's back up. It's working. We need to be conscious of it. We need to stay on top of these issues and fix them. It's part of our responsibility now that we run the big grid.
Yeah. Should we talk about robots?
We like robots, Timothy. I just wanted to play this one. So that this one was just another live luminous robot that looked really cool, and it was associated with an article underneath it. Yeah. So this is I just play this video, but then we can also scroll to the article below. But I just love seeing how smoothly. Maybe you have to go to the beginning where they're not showing the people. Yeah, there we go. Just zzz, yeah.
So
I mean, we've seen this a
we're looking
bunch.
at the Lumi 3 luminous robot.
That's it.
Um,
Well, now
that
go
you and I
towards the
got
end
to
of it.
see. Well, you and I got to see this in Boston at RE Plus Boston.
But we saw the big one with the bigger battery. That was the smaller one. That's the
Oh,
one
this
without
is
the
the old
upgraded battery.
one.
Yeah, I just saw them again on the internet. Yeah, there we go. I just wanted to see them swoosh, swoosh. Look at that. Look how cool that is. It's cool to watch. Cool to watch. All neat. Very neat. All right, so now scroll down a tiny bit. And I just wanted to point out this one. Another company, another technique, similar piece of hardware. There's some good, I didn't have any good videos on them, but if you scroll up just a tiny bit, they had some nice data that's on the system. It did a 10,000 module install, standard height, single axis tracker, as you can see. It does 480 modules a day. So
Hmm.
that's their pitch. That's a good number. Doing a team of
What does a team of humans do?
100. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know about doing them on single access trackers, but I know with my companies, when we do a bid, we got a team of four
Hmm.
with a manager trolling around doing other stuff and helping. And team of four does 75 to 100 modules. In a tough place, we do 75. In a normal place, we do 100.
Yeah.
So So the robots are coming, and that led me to a question, Tim, and I'd love to hear Chris and other smart people. What are the big opportunities for saving money in solar, utility scale, maybe home, in the future? And the two that come to my mind are utility scale, it's installation, and then module efficiency. And I say that because I'm always excited about perovskites, perovskites, perovskites. We're going to have a 34% module and a 45% module maybe for regular folks. And that's going to drop the price effectively because you have more wattage for the same material by like 20%, by like 30% and another 15. So we might see like the price drop by 50% total, just from those two, or just from efficiency. That's it. Not even installation techniques or life length or anything. So I don't know. Those are the two I came up with. High voltage. I hear about high voltage stuff, and then I hear about medium voltage going straight to 13,000 kV, and so skipping a transformer level. That must be some
Mhm.
really long solar strings or something. I don't know. Maybe combiner boxes. 13 combines of 13 strings of 1,000 volts, but 2,000 volt systems are coming now.
Well,
Maybe we'll have bigger.
Dean
Hmm.
Solon, who was at that event that we were at in Boston, is
Yep.
inventing a 3,000 volt,
Three.
oh, 3,000 volt solar module. He's going to skip two, right? Today they're 1,500 volt for ground mount, and tomorrow they're going to be 2,000 volt, but he's just skipping it and going to three.
There's two in the field. I think one company like Jinko has a 2,000 volt line because
Mhm.
they have the whole supply chain or something. But at least that's all that I've heard about. So 3,000. So I guess that's just really long strings and less line loss, thicker copper though on the DC side, so more cost in copper, but long strings, fewer combiners, fewer inverters. I can see that's a couple of pennies. That's pennies you're dropping off. It's pretty neat. 3,000 volts. Chris, you got to tell us some ideas.
I think we lost Chris.
He's
Um,
working. He's got a job. He's probably on the call with the boss, selling some modules. Chris sells solar modules, everybody. So if you ever need some modules, Chris Letman, he's good at it. He
some
can
very
find you some
nice
gear.
solar modules from Imperial Star. We like the Imperial Star solar modules, made in
Yes.
Texas, um, and using American-made solar cells too. Right?
And by the way, everybody, Chris doesn't pay us to say that. We just like Chris. So that's why.
It's good to have a solar panel guru in your midst.
It's true. That's true.
I mean, you're pretty much a guru yourself, John, but Chris makes his living selling solar modules, so it's kind of next level.
Yep.
Should we talk about Nextera?
Tariffs and next era, man. Absolutely.
Tariffs?
So
I'm so
first
sick
off,
of tariffs. I
so
think
we got
I
a
think we all are, and we're only getting started.
so we got a project with a battery being installed up here in Boston. $300,000 tariff on a 1.5 megawatt hour battery. Effectively, 200 kilowatt hours is what the cost of that tariff is on our battery.
Mhm.
And that really is like, oh, it hurts, it's painful. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but that's our new price. 300 G's, man. That's our reality. And so it brought me about this company, Nextera. And um, and I was just really interested when I read this article on them, because they're just 7 steps ahead of us. I mean, that's what you can do when you're worth X hundreds of billions of dollars. The largest utility, I guess, in the U.S. by far in terms of market cap. And they said they believe by properly doing contracting and setting documentation up, they've cut their trade risk from 150 to 150 million out of $75 billion in capital expenditures. And so, yes, they could have issues with import tariffs on their goods. However, they expect of those $75 billion, only 0.2% of their stuff might get hit. And they said they see there's a chance of getting to zero. As we know, they have a factory with modules. I'm sure they have other module factories that they're partnering with in the United States. I'm sure they have massive volume with First
Who is
Era.
their solar panel partner?
At one point, they had a module factory with Jinko in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
But who knows? I mean, they probably white label stuff from whomever they want. They're NextEra. They one of these factories. There's apparently there's 50 megawatts of module assembly capacity in the United States, Tim. If that's the case, we have enough to cover all of our modules, and that'd be cool. I mean, we don't have all the cells yet. We don't have all the wafers, but people like NextEra, they're fighting hard. And what that also tells me is that NextEra is not going to be on our side when it comes to fighting back against the tariffs, because they don't have to worry about it. They're not going to lobby for tariffs. Now, what they will lobby for is the Inflation Reduction Act. And there's ongoing negotiations right now. I'm starting to see headlines, Tim. And so this is the week where you start drinking. And next week is when it's really going to start to hit the fan. So I'm glad I'm going to be traveling somewhere else. And I guess I'm going to Inner Solar.
I think you'll be able to get a beer.
Yeah, definitely. All right, flipping my trip around. Got to call the Iceland people, see if they'll let me do that. That should work. All I got to do is just get off the plane, and I don't have to get back on. But I need to get a hotel room in Iceland for tonight, Tim, or tomorrow.
Or you can stay right at the airport. There's hotels right by the airport.
All right, cool.
There's also volcanoes. Watch out.
Yes, don't fall in them.
Your solar panels arrived. What kind of solar panels did you buy?
So technically, I didn't buy these. Customer did. I think these are ZN. Z-Shine. Yep. So, but go back. You gotta go back. You're just clicking through some real important stuff there, Tim. Click one more.
It's a boring palette of modules. Come on, brother.
Tim, what's that thing off to the right, though?
That's a parapet wall.
No, Timothy. Up 1 inch.
Oh, the capital of the United States.
There you go. That's it. This is downtown DC. This is on top of a 30, 40-story building. 26-story building. FBI building is nearby. They had to get clearance from the FBI. I think if you click on the image, you can still float to the next. Let's see if we can get a big one. Yeah, there we go. So that's the U.S. Capitol building in the background. That's a pretty cool picture. All right. Now you can look at the next
building a project in DC?
Yeah, well, no, we're consultant support, feasibility. We help find contractors. We help bring it forward. Actually, a very good friend of ours, Tim. It's Mark at Universal Renewables. Is it Mark? It is Mark, I think. Mark at Universal Renewables. Mark.
Are they the guys that do that funky
rooftop carports? Yeah, Mark Ballantyne. I know Mark Ballantyne. We all know Mark. So Mark is building this project. This is his. We help bring him in on it, help move it forward. He's been putting a lot of hard work, man. He got the town of DC to give him some code changes because he had to be set back 4 feet. But as we go through these images, we're going to see a cool picture or two of how he's attaching this rooftop covered pathway, so a carport essentially, on the roof. And so check out that picture. That is the Washington Monument in the background. So another cool angle from downtown. So solar plus DC, man. All right. So now you get your ZN Shine modules. What's next? So we're going to do a partial system that's going to lay flat on the roof on this material. And then the other is going to be on the covered parkway. And I think these two silver pieces coming up are the foundation pieces. Steel beams going up.
Yeah, these guys are real experts at attached. It's like a carport, but it's not as tall as a carport, obviously. It's just tall enough to go over all that equipment so that you can actually solarize that roof, which usually you would, be able to get very little solar because there's so many obstructions. So that's why these guys have carved out a niche for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think there's generous incentives in DC right now, right?
Yeah, they got a really strong SRAC. really strong ass truck, like like 40, like 40 cents a
You need
kilowatt hour.
that. You need that to do this kind of solar, right? Because this is not
You,
cheap.
no, sir. No, this took a lot of work. I think you're going to see some lifts. I mean, they had to shut down streets in Washington D.C. I think the president had to come by and sign off himself.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's the monument again. There's the gear. Some of the steel. You can see the hardware that's going into the roof. All right, now you can start to see how close they are to the edge of the roof. This is one of the challenges. This is a walkway, so this is going to be covered walkway. They're gonna maybe they'll do something with those bricks. I'm not sure. I saw some markups earlier that made it look pretty, but this is where it took a lot of time to get the city to approve the design because we're within 4 feet of the edge, and from a visual standpoint, they didn't want anything hanging over, and also from a risk standpoint, you don't want stuff hanging over the edge of your building.
Yeah.
And I
Is
think
that
one
the
of the
high
last,
edge or the low edge, do you think?
it's well, it's either flat or that's the low edge, but I think it's flat.
Is the building north of the Capitol?
No, but it's super close. I think it might be actually, as if I'm
Because if
thinking,
we're looking
yes.
south, then that's the low edge.
Yeah, I think that's the south. uh I think we're looking west southwest right here.
hmm
So I think we're looking toward, like, I think the main building, the White House, would be to your right, or right south right, or whatever. Yeah. All right. So that's the covered pathway that we're going to cover because people go up there and hang out. Yeah. So there's going to be solar that's going to connect on top of the wall to the right,
hmm
and that's I think it's 4 panels across, and then you can see
Did
that
you
nice
get
little
a?
gear.
Oh yeah,
Oh, and
here
there's
you
the
got
lift.
some bird's eye view, but you didn't get any drone photos.
Well, these weren't my pictures, but there might be. You know what? I doubt you're allowed to fly too many drones
Yeah,
next to the FBI, a few
right.
blocks from the White House, Tim.
That's a
And if you
cool shot.
do, yeah, and if you do fly a drone there, it's gonna be found very quickly. So there you go.
Yeah, it's probably the no-fly zone. The drone probably won't even take off.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, so I'm not on site. This is being taken by the site manager. His name is Mark Lyons. Really smart guy. Very determined to move this through. Yeah, shutting down roads in DC, man.
Do you know how many kW the project is?
193.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was really happy to be part of that. Met Valentine. He's a smart guy. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't do that unique attached carport style racking, it would be less than half of that, right? There's just no way you could get even 100 kW on that roof. So many
Yep.
obstructions. We call that obstructionosity.
I think it's cool. I haven't done one of those projects directly, but now I'm getting to see it. And it's just kind of neat that they're doing that kind of solution. State of Massachusetts is offering a potential incentive for that product in their next Smart 3 program. So roof, what's the terminology they have for it? It's a different thing. It's not carport. They use a different word, but roof something.
Hmm.
So anyway, neat project,
Yeah.
downtown DC, project of the week. Mark Valentine, US Renewable, Universal Renewables.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I took a photo of their booth for you at the RE Plus.
Yeah,
Boston.
I was really happy you did.
So
All
should
right.
we talk about solid state batteries?
Big solid state battery cells.
We found a story in ESS News.
Yep.
ESS News, that's not the PV magazine.
It is.
It is. Okay.
It's within the PV magazine family.
Oh, it is.
They
PV
recently
magazine.
launched
There
it.
Okay.
Yes, recently launched. Absolutely.
All right, I'll get this on screen. We've been hearing a lot about solid state batteries. It's like we heard a lot about them back in 2020 during the pandemic, like Volkswagen was all in, and then they kind of went quiet, right? But
Well,
now
they're
it
being
seems like
developed.
sounds like they're getting traction because I know some of the automakers are investing in them now.
So solid state did the technology curve like a lot of things. It's like, oh my God, we got this new idea. This is coming. Oh, it's so beautiful, amazing, amazing. Okay. Oh, we got to figure out how to do it. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, 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 okay. Oh my God, this sucks. It's terrible. What happened to all the wonderful? Okay, now we're gonna slowly progress. That's called like the trough of disillusionment, where
Yeah,
people are like, oh, that's trash. The hype,
big
the
time.
headlines. Where's the real thing? But now it's starting to come out of it. This might be the first solid state utility scale product I've seen. I don't know if it's a true solid state the way people believe it's going to be eventually. It could be early. But the fact that it was one solid state and two, well, I guess three things, but two and three are the same. The cell, it's a 783 amp hour cell, which is like it's 2000 volts, I guess, and it's like 1.5 kilowatt hours. I mean, that thing could run your house, one battery cell, for like, I don't know, an hour or something, maybe. And then it's 8.3 megawatt hours for a single 20-foot shipping container volume.
Yeah, that's a
So,
lot of storage in a single 20-foot container.
yes, all those things
Um,
coming together is like, holy crap, what a cool, big utility scale battery. And I hope we get to build some.
so this story is called Narada Power launches 783 amp hour cell, 8.3 megawatt hour solid state battery in ESS News. That's the PV Magazine news site by Marija Maish. But where is this project?
No, this is just a product launch.
Ah, product launch.
Yes,
Got it.
product
Got it.
launch. Yes. So scroll down. Show us that big, pretty cell. That thing is huge. I don't know if this represents what the actual cell size is.
How
I
big
think
is
it
that,
might.
do you think?
It's probably about a foot across, 4 inches
Hmm.
wide, 6 inches tall. I've
And
seen
that's
them.
a
I
cell?
see them on. Yeah, and that's a cell. That is a
Wow.
single cell. They're getting huge.
That's as big as a module in a lithium ion battery.
Absolutely. Like back in the day, we're used to cells that look like 9-volt batteries,
Right.
double A, triple A batteries. This is the modern cell in a battery. So this is what's called a blade cell.
Hmm.
And this, I believe, I'm not 100% on it, but I believe BYD was the first one to move blade cells into cars. Maybe CATL. There was a recent conversation apparently between the CEO of CATL, and Tesla, Elon. And apparently, CATL told Tesla, hey, you're going the wrong way with your 4860 batteries. You just can't fit the same capacity as us. Here's why.
Mm-hmm.
Ta 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 ta. So
Hmm.
there's some tit-tatting back and forth. Oh, by the way, 10,000 cycles. So let's do a quick 10,000 cycles. That's like 10,000, 1, 2, 3, divided by 365. 27 years at one cycle a day, divided by 2. 13.7 years at 2 cycles a day.
Hmm.
So long lasting product that's dense, that's big, cutting edge, and these utility scale batteries I think are cool. So I'm following this topic a lot because battery storage is next. I mean, you saw the best solution to what happened in Spain is batteries. And everybody's been yelling at Spain, hey, you need a little more responsibility for your grid right now. They just got a little busted in the nose type of event. Needs to be managed. Big grid batteries are going to be it. And they're priced well now.
Mm. Narada sounds Indian, but it's a Chinese company. Um,
I just
oh
saw
no,
another company with the same size battery cell. So it's a standard that's coming. They're all going to be like that. I like big batteries, Tim.
yeah, there's a lot to like about big batteries. Um,
Well,
oh, they
let's
have an
let's do
office in North America too, in
let's
Newton,
do
Massachusetts.
Newton. I gotta go knock on the door. Okay, so
Oh,
8.83 megawatt hours. So times one, since I know how to price in kilowatt hours. Now let's say delivered, it'd be 120 bucks. So that's $1 million shipping container. And then what's the so that's $1 million shipping container. I don't know what the tariff is. It's probably $1 million tariff. So there you go. So instead of being under $100 per kilowatt hour for that unit, it's gonna probably be somewhere around 2.
Yeah.
That's we'll get there, Tim. Keep fighting. Keep fighting.
Should we talk about balcony solar? Maybe we'll close
Sure.
on that.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Okay. Balcony solar comes to California by John Fitzgerald Weaver in PV Magazine. What's the story, John? We've talked about balcony solar not too long ago. I want some balcony solar. I can't do rooftop solar because I have a huge tree over my house, but I could do some balcony solar off my patio.
You should interview these guys and ask them questions on your show. They like to do stuff. Make them. They want to get their gear out there too. Not this company, but the one they buy from. So let me tell you about this. BrightSaver.
So this company is BrightSaver?
Yes. BrightSaver was founded in California right around the start of the year. And it's a couple of guys who had the idea to bring balcony solar to the United States. And they started looking at the laws, and they came up with the idea that if they install a solar system that never exports to the grid, then it's okay. It doesn't need permits necessarily,
Right.
and it definitely doesn't need interconnection. That's what they're going with. And so they found a company called Craftstrom, I think it is, and I put them on the document so we can look at them next. But Craftstrom, they manufacture this kit that has a little code that hopefully reads the grid and says, "Oh, the house demand is lower than the solar generation. Let's fiddle with the PowerPoint settings in the inverter," and it makes sure it never exports. And that's what they're building in California. And so they've done like 30, 40, 50 of these systems apparently. I think they're like $1,800-ish. And they do make them have a unique circuit in the electric panel so that there's no way to do this thing where you could have a lot of draw on a circuit and a lot of energy coming in and potentially overpower stuff. So this is their way of managing it. And so balcony solar is being installed in the greater San Francisco region by BrightSaver. And in some cities, 2 or 3, they have been told you don't need a permit because it's an appliance. It's movable. You plug it in, you remove it. Very easy. Not an issue. All right. In some places, they still said you had to plug it in, maybe. But they're doing it without interconnection, is the way I'm hearing it. Everything is UL certified.
It's plugging into a wall outlet, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
With it on a dedicated circuit, but yes. So that's the key. That's the thing that adds.
Circuit. Okay.
Yeah, that one adds a little complexity to it. They have to get an electrician in there to do a dedicated circuit.
Yeah.
And that's a complexity. Now in Utah,
it's just a 30 amp circuit.
It could be 10. I don't know, but it could be 10. I mean, if they just do one big module, one 8, 9 amp module, but I don't know exactly. It's 10 or 20. It's probably less than 30 is my guesstimate. I haven't done any engineering, though. I don't know that answer. But in Utah, it's different. In Utah, there's a law that states you can backfeed to the power grid just a little bit, up to 1.2 kilowatts, and we'll let you go without permits and interconnections. And so now BrightSaver, now that the Utah law has come, and we talked about this a couple months ago when the Utah law came to be, now that BrightSaver is see what's happened in Utah, they're trying to start some business there. So it's pretty cool. It's balcony solar, and this company, maybe bring them up. Craftstrom.
On screen, it's so sexy.
Yeah. So first off, this company has been hammering me to talk about it. So they're getting it, but they are the manufacturer, the supplier to BrightSaver. They also got a story in like 2 or 3 different places. Now they're arguing with me and saying the Utah legislation doesn't allow export to the grid. And they're also saying, Craftstrom is saying that this system can be installed today in all 50 states. Balcony solar, from their perspective, with their technology and their pitch, is that balcony solar is legal 100% across the U.S. today.
Wow.
So that's their pitch. But
you
the
know
key
what
is
Craftstrom means, right?
No.
Craft means power. Strum means electricity.
Well, there you go.
Power, electricity, solar.
Well, if you go to craftstrong.com, that's also their website. So they got two. This is for their plug and play solar products.
Yeah.
Um,
But so they're selling the racking or the panels or both?
they're selling a control unit, inverters, panels, maybe the racking. I don't know exactly. And they also have a battery kit that can go with it. Because this control unit, and I think that's the picture of it right there in the middle. That's the inverter there. The control unit's right there. The power meter. I think that's an integral piece because what that does, it looks at the house. It hooks up, CT clamps onto the electric panel, so it can see how much house demand there is. Then it looks at the solar system to see how much it's generating, and if the solar system starts to get close to what the house is at, it cuts out. It says, "Oh, solar, go off," and it measures it. Oh, there he is. The power meter measures how much electricity from the utility and the panels, and it matches because it doesn't want you to export. That's the key. It keeps you from exporting.
Yeah.
And so they believe that allows you to be plugged in anywhere in the United States.
But what from a from an AHJ perspective, John, do you think it's like a 2 kW limit, or what is the kW limit for a project like this?
Well, if it's a movable thing that you can just throw out in your front yard or hang on your, I mean, I don't know, 2 kW max. The Utah law is about 2 kW DC, 4 modules, because they allow 1.2 kW AC. And that's a nice DC to AC number. So maybe it's 2 kW before you start getting a little pressure from the AHJ. It depends how visible your thing is. If it's in your backyard and nobody can see it, you can deploy all you want. If it's hanging out in your front yard right on the corner and it's a nice corner, you better make sure you got some nice all black modules and don't have an aluminum frame, and make sure your wires are, at least manageable. The fact that they're movable might help. You bring them in at night. Otherwise, the kids are going to throw rocks at them.
Well, those panels in their photo look like they're not even glass panels. I don't know.
Yeah, they did look like they may have been frameless. Or did you think matte or something like that? Some matte panels.
Yeah, I just they didn't look like glass. But we'll see. Good stuff, man. I like it.
Yep.
Balcony solar coming to the US. It's about time.
It's here, man.
Well, have a great trip to Iceland and Germany.
Yep.
Say hi to Helga Biernath for me. Have a beer with Helga Biernath. Do you know Helga?
Nope.
He is the owner of Sunstall. They're a mechanical installer. And he's the owner of Sunzon, which is a vertical racking company.
Cool.
That is competing with Next to Sun, right?
Yeah.
Next to Sun is a European company. Sunzon is an American company with a German name. But
and they're from Colorado, right?
No, they're from the Bay Area.
Oh, okay. Of course.
Marin County.
Nice. All right. Well, now that I'm
going to and just so our listeners know, we're doing a webinar with them on July 15th. So you can look forward to that on agrivoltaics. We're going to have Sandbox Solar on that.
Oh, I love them.
Professor Majdi from UC Davis and John Langdon of Muddy Creek Solar Farm. He's a farmer out in Oregon. So good crew.
Wow.
We're assembling for agrivoltaics on July 15th. Are you going to come to the agrivoltaics conference, John?
I'm thinking about it. When is it?
I think it's in August.
August. All right. I could take the train to that one. And that's in Chicago, right? Or is it in Minnesota?
You take the train to anyone. It's just a question of how long do you want to, how much of your life do you want to dedicate to riding on a train?
It's true. That might be the show I get. So I'm going to go to RE Plus, of course, but that might be another show for me to go to because I don't have to fly. So I like that idea.
All right. Well, check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com.
Yep.
Give us a rating and review on Apple or Spotify. Follow us on YouTube and tell a friend about the show. That's the best thing you can do to help spread the word. Where can our listeners find you, John?
commercialsolarguy.com. Our website works. LinkedIn. I'm on Blue Sky, Commercial Solar Guy, always sharing good news. And give us a ring. We want to build stuff for you in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, or consult and, talk to you about Tim and me and all the weird news stuff that we know. Tim and I have done a lot of solar, so if you need any help with it, we can build it. That's what we like to do. We like to build, develop. That's it. CommercialSolarGuy.com. Thanks, Tim. Nice to see you.
All right. Rock on. Take care. See you, John.